Greetings, beloveds. Toya Van Zant reporting live.
I'm Zach. She's Toya. She's Toya. And we're going to talk about coping with loss or coping with just uncomfortable things that we weren't used to. I know there's questions that you want to ask me, so I'm going to hand it over to you so you can ask me questions and I can answer them because I'm feeling transparent, wide open, and pause. But yeah, that's how I feel. So go ahead, Toya.
It's just whenever you lose someone, you got to find a new identity. And then, of course, you have to relate with your loved ones and try not to isolate and lean on people and don't pretend to be too strong. So with that being said, the other day we were talking about just like how I thought you and your grandmother came into each other's lives at such a pivotal point. So that's why I wanted to ask you a question about like how do you think you impacted each other's lives when y'all both suffered such a great loss? And well, I guess let's start off with who was Papa John?
You want short form or long form?
Let's go long form.
Long form. Papa John is my he's really my grandpa because well, my grandmother I guess what you call it, surrogate grandpa or a biological grandpa. No, I'm talking about like the grandpa that birthed my mom and my uncle.
Yes, biological.
Yeah, he was. I mean, yeah, he was. Yeah, but she divorced for good reasons, and Papa John came to life. So he's the only grandpa that I know, like intimately know, understand, and figured out. He was a youth basketball coach that had many championship teams with AAU, with city leagues. He was the kindest person I've ever encountered, besides my parents and all that. But as a non-parent, the kindest guy, almost too kind, because we did take advantage and ate the most Snicker bars and Baby Ruths and candies and got the most slushies and the most Happy Meals I've ever encountered in my life because of Papa John. And Grandma would get so mad when probably because of me, because I would tell. I'm like, yeah, Papa John got us. We had 3 Happy Meals just today during basketball practice, after, before, all that. Yeah. But he was he was a song leader in church. He would pray in church. I think I know that he's a person that I strive to be on this earth because he was kind, loving, God-fearing. Gave the worst whoopings ever.
No, he didn't.
No, he gave the worst whoopings ever. He was not painful. I think he hurt his feet more than he hurt us because he would stomp around and make a lot of noise. But yeah, long story short, Papa John was my grandpa, and he passed away when I want to say I was 11 and a half, going on 12. And when he passed, my grandma had just retired, and she was looking forward to traveling with Papa John. Papa John was about to retire. He worked for the government. He was about to retire too, and they were going to be doing we were going to go to Disney World because that was the plan. They retire. We go to Disney World every year, every summer. How do we find out that Papa John died? That's a crazy story in itself. It was in May, late May, early June. We had just got out of school, and we were supposed to be going to, every summer we go to Corpus where Papa John and Grandma lived. We were going, so Grandma was flying into Dallas, and Papa John was supposed to drive in the next day, and we were all supposed to go back to Corpus with them. So Grandma was on a plane. from my understanding, Grandma was on a plane in Corpus Christi. Papa John was at a basketball tournament coaching his team, and he had a heart attack while coaching his team.
Doing something he loved.
Doing something he loved. And I mean, that's the extent that I know. I was 11 and a half, 12 years old. I just know that Grandma got off the plane. It was pretty much when we got the news, we knew that Papa John had passed. My mom was hysterical. My dad was like, I'd never seen my old man that distraught ever to this day. He didn't know who, what, when, where. I remember that day I was supposed to go get a new game for my PlayStation because I ended the year good at school. That didn't happen. At that time, in my little young brain, I didn't know what death was. I was more distraught and upset that, dang, I can't get my game that I've been won. And then I fast forward, I feel like that same day we packed and we drove to Corpus. And yeah, that was a weird time. But yeah, that's how we find out. What's your next question?
So fast forward, how do we determine that you and your grandmother need to stay together?
So fast forward that Papa John passed, I think in May. It's either May or June. The funeral happens. We all go our separate ways. Papa John's van, we got his van here in Dallas. We're there in Dallas. And I'm just like going about that summer was weird, but it passed. It happened. Fast forward to like September, October. My mom, September, October, that was 1998? Yeah. Or 1999. Or I don't know, one of them years. But around October, November, my mom is asking me, what do you think about living in Corpus? And I'm like, oh, are we moving to Corpus? She's like, no, what do you think about living in Corpus with Grandma? I'm like, yeah, that's...
Seen her talk to your grandmother before then? Like, was she feeling okay? Were you hearing any stories about it?
Well, I know that summer she was...
I think she broke into hives.
She had hives. Yeah, she wasn't well. She wasn't well, but another one of our family members lived with her, but that didn't go well.
And it was because she needed like some companionship, right?
Yeah, and that family member was not. It didn't work out. So again, October, November, my mom is asking me, what do you think about moving to Corpus? And I'm like, yeah, that's cool. Like, that's fine. But I never really took it serious because, again, I'm 12 years old. You know what I'm saying? I'm a child. And I didn't think it was going to really happen, right? So what's that? October, November, come December, Christmas time, Grandma comes to Dallas where we live. And I do remember that she was typically when Papa John and Grandma would come for Christmas, it would be like 4 days, right? They would come and Christmas, all the festivities. Grandma stayed a long time for that trip.
More than 4.
More than 4. I know it was more than 4. And the whole time, and also she came, I remember she came before, and this is my memory. This could be totally wrong, but this is what I think, that I remember, was she came before Christmas, and the whole time she was there, she's like, do you want to live with me? And I'm like, yeah, I'll live with you. Thinking like, you know what I'm saying? Thinking that she's going to like move here, like with us. Of course I'll live with you. But then, the closer to Christmas break it came, it was like, do you want to move to Corpus? And I'm like, I mean, I don't know. You know what I mean?
What grade were you in at this point?
I was in
You're pretty stubborn.
8th grade.
8th
grade. This is my last year in middle school.
Okay.
And I'm thinking about friends. I'm thinking about, you know what I'm saying? Like girls that I like in middle school and all this stuff. So, it was almost like a sales pitch, but it wasn't a bad sales pitch. You know what I mean? Right. It was like, there's so many benefits, right?
Right.
And also, I think the last bargain, the last negotiation I put is, can I take my dog with me? My dog, of course, y'all know my dog was named Zoe. And I was like, can I bring my dog with me? And at first it was like, no. because grandma had a dog named Buddy. And she's like, we can't do that. And I was like, well, I don't want to go there without my dog. Like, I'm not doing that. We had already tore down the fish tanks, all the fish tanks in my room that I had. Those weren't coming. But grandma did promise that I could have as many fish tanks as I want once I get there. And spoiler alert, I had as many fish tanks I ever wanted in life when I lived with grandma. She allowed me to, especially when I got my own job, fam, Toya.
Mm-hmm.
I probably had like 5 fish tanks just in my room alone.
No walking space.
No, I had them all set up right, but yeah, it was just a room. But yeah, like they were small, but they were good. So, anyways, finally we agreed I could take my dog with me. I took my dog with me, and like I said, you want the long form? Yeah, I moved in. I left my parents. I left my brother. I left my sister. I left everything that I knew up until I was in 8th grade. Did they say anything? Huh?
Did they say any words that stuck out to you, or they were too young to probably?
I just remember talking to Grams, and Grams was just like, Zach, you're gonna have the best life you could ever want. And also, life wasn't.
And you believed her,
of course, because life wasn't that great. When I lived with, I wasn't a studious person. I didn't have. It was a fresh start.
It could get better. Yeah,
it could get better. It was a fresh start, and Grandma told me this is a fresh start.
So then, once you get there, are you scared? Was it a immediate transition, or?
So once I get there again, it's Christmas break. That's why I say Grandma had to been in Dallas for a long time, because I didn't start school for like maybe 2 weeks after I got there. And so once I was there, Grandma encouraged me to go outside, and I ended up ultimately meeting the friends that I kept the entire time that I was there. Like the first week, I just didn't know about them. I didn't trust them. I didn't, it was just me and my dog. Honestly, me and my actual canine were stuck together like glue. And
good thing you did bring him.
Yeah, my canine was the thing that she didn't, even in Dallas, she never really slept in the bed with me, but she felt like a fish out of water too. So once we got to Corpus, she slept in the bed with me and kept me safe. And we would take walks, and she would like look out for me, and I looked out for her. But I ended up meeting the friends that I would say friends now. I mean, I could text any of them or DM any of them, and they'll talk back. But I would say so from January to maybe mid-March, I did not. Here's a story. One of the counselors from the school called me in the office and was like, "Are you a problem child?" And I was like, "I don't know what that." And I was like, "I don't know what that is." Well, like, what do you mean? She's like, "Well, you came from Dallas. Why did you come from Dallas to Corpus? Are you a problem child? Like, what are you?"
That's something to ask a kid, huh?
Right. And I'm like, "Nah, I'm not." I told my grandma, and ended up my grandma knew who she was. And my grandma talked to her, and everything was worked out. Yeah, it worked out. Yeah. She was black too. She was black.
Wow.
Yeah. But
be careful with that, guys.
Yeah.
Don't put titles on kids.
Yeah. And also, titles. How could you can ask a kid you think a kid's gonna say, "Hell yeah, I'm a problem child. I'm the most problematic child you could ever meet." Like, what do you like?
Trying to intimidate me?
I don't get it. Like, I don't know. And I told my grandma, and she was like, her name is.
Told her.
And I know her name, but I'm not gonna say it. But I think she may have passed, RIP or whatever. But my grandma talked to her, was like, "No, this is Pam's son. John died. He's here for me. So what are you talking about? He's not a problem child. He's just a kid."
Right.
So, anyways, from January to maybe mid-March.
That's a really good representative of being an ambassador for your children.
Yeah.
Because
and that story, these type of stories have happened. They happened so many times throughout my time in Corpus. My grandma, Grams, was 10 toes and stood up tall for me. You know what I'm saying? When people thought that, why are you here? Like, who are you? Early on, Corpus is a small town. They know who's who. You know what I mean? They know whose kids these kids are. And it's like, well, that's Maurice's son. That's Pam's son. That's my grandson. Oh, okay. That's John. This is John's grandson. John Taylor's grand. Oh, okay, cool. You know what I mean? But a lot of
You
that,
had to know somebody.
yeah, a lot of that didn't happen when I first got there because they didn't know. And everybody knew Papa John had passed.
Yeah.
And they also knew who was staying with grandma before I came. So it was weird. So yeah. Anyways.
So was there a moment where you were just like, wow, I see now why I'm here and God is good?
Yeah. In an immature mind, that comes different. You know what I mean? In an immature mind, it's like, okay, so to answer your question, yeah, I know why. I could say, yeah, I know why this happened because God is good. As a grown up, yes. Everything that ever happened to me while I was living in Corpus, yes. I see why God placed me here with my grandma. Yes, God is good. But as a kid, you want to know what made me say, oh yeah, I'm so glad I'm here. I got every Jordan that I ever, I got every pair of Jordan. I got every pair of Iverson. I got every polo shirt I ever wanted, every lug boot that I ever wanted. I was equivalent to what Zoe is now, an only child. There were no like restrictions, you know what I mean? And as a kid in the kid's brain, that's perfect. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. I don't have to compete with nobody. And I was making the best grades I ever made. The rewards that I got were not they were not warranted. I worked for them. I was more in tune with school. I was more in tune with myself. You know what I mean? I was more in tune. I was more in tune with like, and then of course, the church that grandma went to was my favorite church ever. So
now, how did you get to a place where you were in tune with yourself? Can we talk about that for a second? Like what?
That was pretty quick. No, it was more so talking to grandma, like the talks that we had, the talks that me and grandma had on the way to school every morning. They meant a lot. And I try to implicate that when I pick up Zoe, have talks with her, and just tell her, how do you feel? I don't think anybody ever asked me how I felt when I lived with my in Dallas with my brother and sister, because of course they didn't have time to ask me how I felt. You're gonna do this, and this has to be done, right? But my grandma would ask me how I feel. How you feeling? What's going on? You know what I mean? So yeah.
Excuse me. Oh, okay. So I think that that is really good. I think it also probably in ways helped her to be able to have your companionship as well.
Yeah, we had our jokes. We had our. I never felt like you know how like with Zoe, it's gonna come a time where Zoe's gonna feel like we're gonna cramp her style. But I never had that feeling with grandma because she was cool and everybody liked her. Like even my friends liked her being around. They wanted her to be the chaperone for everything. Like all of my friends when we play AAU basketball, they wanted to ride with us to the games. You know what I mean? They wanted to spend the night at our house before the night before the game because grandma was always cool. She always knew the greatest snacks. She always, you know what I'm saying? She always asked what you wanted, what you want to do. Grandma is the hippest. Like I never felt like she cramped my style. I never felt like I didn't want her around any of my friends because she was cool. She was cool. And she would that leash was long with grandma. Of course, she always knew. Like I feel like I'm good at that now. I know what Zoe's doing all the time. But I give you that leash to, you know what I'm saying? To explore. But I know where you're at. And also I know everybody that knows where you're at. So it's for us now we got the phones and all that stuff, but for her it was like a hooty hoo. Where you at? So and so over there just saw you. Where you at? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it was always So
I think it's interesting that you are pretty much saying that you're using some of the parenting skills that she used on you, today. Is there anything else that you said that you would learn maybe even in marriage from your grandmother?
Grandma, today? She prepared me to be married to you.
Married in general.
My grandma prepared me to be married to LaToya Roseanne Harris.
Wow.
Yeah. And To explain that, that's a whole nother podcast. To be honest, to explain that. But my grandmother prepared me to marry a strong-minded woman, just in general, a woman with ambition, a woman with her own goals, a woman that that needs me in a way, but also can fit for herself because my grandma is that.
Mhm.
So I don't. That's kind of weird if I say I see my grandma in you. That's so weird. That's so gross. That's so gross.
But I also feel like it's an honor too.
Yeah. But yeah. Like I see characteristics, and
I appreciate that.
yeah, and there's in no way do I feel like my grandma's. You are like my grandma. Like I don't see that at all.
Mhm.
But yeah. My grandmother prepared me to marry Latoya Roseanne Harris or Latoya Roseanne Guy. You know what I mean? To be Latoya Roseanne Harris.
Right.
So yeah. Anything else? What you got?
Well, that's all. I think that was a really good conversation of just about, loss but gain, finding,
Yeah.
the great things in the ashes,
Yeah.
or even being able to make change your perspective so that you can find, the light at the end of the tunnel. So any last words about finding that light?
Yeah. I see Papa John's his passing was polarizing, right? In the beginning, it was like shocking because I saw him as Superman, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
But then like you said, as the dust settled, I started to see those Superman characteristics within myself. You know what I'm saying? I started to see that yeah, he's not my blood, but he has his blood has been kind of ingratiated within me that
right.
You know what I mean?
It's the spirit.
Yeah.
The spirit of
Yeah.
love and
Yes.
definitely and that's what even Jesus say that. Like, my brother is, not my brother unless he follow God.
Yeah, man.
So
yeah. And I see it as like it's not sad because he's not gone.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Love never
ends. Yeah, no. And I can if I can honor his essence, Papa John is an adventurer. I feel like I'm an adventurer, and we are adventurers. We go out. We don't, you know what I'm saying? Papa John was never the guy that sat around. You know what I mean? And okay, well, signing off. Love, peace, prosperity, self-love, God love. We out. Good night. Yeah.